On the day I called, you answered me, O God. Seek and you will find. I think when we're looking at what Jesus has to say in that gospel, he's kind of giving a training course to his disciples, both to the 12, I imagine, but also to the broader stretch of those who follow him. He's trying to give a course in how to be an apostle, how to be a disciple on the hoof, how to negotiate life as it is in all its rawness and all its reality. I'm conscious that for you this is the beginning of a prayer journey in Lent for the whole of Lent. I don't know about you, but I always find that Advent goes by like a flash, and I'm desperately trying to catch all the lovely richness of the scriptures of Advent. But, you know, Christmas is coming on like a juggernaut, and before I know it, it's Christmas Eve. Whereas Lent tends to drag a bit, if I'm honest. That's usually because I give up alcohol and chocolate, which are two of the things that really help life to kind of keep going. But that's neither here nor there. But Lent can seem like a bit of a long haul. But Lent, the word Lent in English actually comes from the Old Anglo-Saxon for the word spring. And I find it much easier, personally, to think of Lent in terms of spring cleaning than I do to think of Lent in terms of darkness and doom and gloom and penance. So I'm going to invite you to think about Lent as spring cleaning more than anything else, a spiritual spring clean and maybe a bit of a faith spring clean. What difference does it make to you to be a person of faith? Even if you feel either today or just on your bad days that your faith is no bigger than a mustard seed. Nevertheless, faith is faith. What does it feel to you to be a person of faith? I wrote a couple of books during the lockdown. The first one was called The Way of Ignatius, and it's a Lenten journey. And I was specifically asked to write it for people trying to make a faith journey during Lent, in which I introduced them to the spiritual tradition of St Ignatius of Loyola. One of the things Ignatius invites us to do is to find God in all things. You know, in the late Middle Ages, when Ignatius was writing, there was very definitely a sort of compartmentalization. This was the ordinary, the everyday bit of life, and this is the holy bit. And they were like separate compartments. And Ignatius is very keen to say to people, actually, there are no compartments. We cannot compartmentalize God because God is in everything, in every aspect of our life. And that means that it doesn't mean that we can't have high moments, mountaintop moments, where we really have a sense that we are at home with God and God at home with us. Those moments do come. For some people, they come at very focused moments of retreat. Say, I make a retreat for a whole week every year, and there are definitely moments there where it kind of feels as if God and I have come home to one another. But we can't just keep waiting for those high moments once or twice a year, or we can't keep waiting just for Sunday in case something happens during Mass. For us to be able to live a life of discipleship, we need to be able to find God in our personal lives, in our relationship lives, in our domestic lives, in our professional lives. We need to be able to find God during staff meetings, writing reports, driving to school, dealing with difficult kids and staff, dealing with the education board and all those kinds of things. We need to be able to find God when we're walking the dog, or worming the cat, or throwing the rubbish out, or fixing the washing machine, or kissing our wife or husband or children, or reading a book that's really fascinating, or going out with our mates, or dancing, or whatever it is. Because if we don't find God in those places and in those experiences, then God is not real. God is not real because that's where we are real. That's where the real us lives every day. And God is not a sort of holy varnish on top of all of this. God has to be integrated into the reality of those moments, both the highs and the lows.